Well, hey guys, welcome to my daily update, otherwise known as the Graham Show. Today is Thanksgiving Day, Thursday, November 26th here in the United States. So happy Thanksgiving to all of my friends here in the US. And, happy Thanksgiving to anybody all over the world as well. I really love Thanksgiving. You know, growing up in England, in the UK, it's obviously not something we did or do. It's funny, Brits don't do Thanksgiving, but they've now adopted Black Friday. Go figure. But Thanksgiving is really nice. It's a bit like a mini Christmas. And, just a nice quiet day, family day, and day to have a good meal, watch some silly TV and all those things. But I actually love the idea of celebrating thankfulness. You know, if you don't know the story, the original pilgrims actually left from Plymouth and came here to Massachusetts, landed not too far from where I'm recording now in Plymouth, Mass, and put their feet on the rock and prayed some prayers. And, it really is interesting as well if you look back and read some of the reasons they came. Obviously, people came to America for lots of different reasons, and people still come to America for lots of different reasons. But people actually came here for religious freedom. That was the primary reason. You know, it's interesting today, literally yesterday afternoon and this morning, like about an hour ago, I have been filling out paperwork for applying for citizenship. We've literally just this week been here on a green card for 5 years, so we can now apply to be American citizens. And I don't know whether it was easier for the first pilgrims to come over on a treacherous boat journey, not sure what they'd be, or whether it's easier to navigate the treacherous waters of American immigration and pay like $25,000. That's the way we've had to do it. But either way, I'm glad to be here in America. You know, it's interesting. I was just thinking about today. I'm filling out paperwork. These days, you do it online to transfer from being a green card, a permanent resident, to a citizen. And, this morning, the Supreme Court in the United States, well, apparently late last night, but they decided this morning, issued a decree. It was actually against the governor of New York in favor of, it was actually a Jewish congregation and a Catholic congregation who said, we want the freedom to worship and that the governor can't close down churches. Now, I'm not trying to do politics here with you today. I'm simply saying the very same things that caused the pilgrims to come here in the first place are the very same things. It's interesting. Again, just this morning, going for a walk, I was talking with my wife about my brother and sister-in-law in France. We're in France, they're, passing laws where you can no longer homeschool, or, they're trying to stop any kind of religious education thing whatsoever. And I'm simply making the point to my American friends here that some of the original reasons people came here and the why still exist today. And let's be thankful for our nation. Let's pray for our nation. It's not a perfect nation in any way, as there are no perfect nations until King Jesus comes back and sets up his eternal kingdom here on the earth. But it's a good nation. And I'm glad to be here, and I just pray, and I'm thankful for that. So, hey, one quick thought as well. I was reading this today. This is an old, I think it's an Augustine sermon. Probably people know it more from Andrew Womack. But have you ever looked at a road map the wrong way round? Looked at a map and then suddenly realized, like, oh, I'm looking at this the wrong way around. I need to tilt it and move it around. It's interesting how we locate maps in different ways. You know, years ago, I worked once as a missionary. I worked for the Assemblies of God. I used to travel around the UK. And I once spent a month working in the UK town of Grimsby. It's like a port town on the northeast of the UK where ships came in from all over the world. And I once spent a period of time going on board ships. You know, all of these ships, it's a great place to do missions work. So with the team of young people, we'd go on board ships, and they'd have sailors there from all over the world, and quite often some of these sailors weren't allowed shore leave, so they'd be maybe in the UK for a day or two. People would bring food. Frankly, prostitutes would go on board, all of these kind of things, and young British missionaries. And it was a great, it's interesting if anybody's never been in the merchant navy. I couldn't sail a rubber dinghy, but I went on board many, many ships, and it's really great having some conversations at times, just praying for people who couldn't even understand our English and their language. But, this is back in the 80s as well. I remember praying with a lot of Russian Soviet citizens at the time from behind the Iron Curtain and giving them Russian Bibles. One thing, though, that really struck me, it had never occurred to me before, is that every nation of the world puts itself at the center of the map. Most of us have never seen that. Americans do that. The Brits, you look at a British map of the world, the UK is right in the center. And of course, the Russians do that and the Chinese do that. And everybody tends to look at themselves, the center of the world. And when you're looking at a map in a different format than the one you're used to, it can look really strange. And, it's interesting. I was just thinking about this earlier. Romans chapter 1 is a wonderful chapter. It's not everybody's favorite chapter. In a way, the first half of Romans 1 is so great. Paul talks about him being called and separated as an apostle. It's the chapter where Paul says, I'm not ashamed of the gospel. It's the power of God unto salvation. But Romans 1, about verse 18 through the end of it, it really goes south. And it describes, especially he's talking about the people in Rome at the time who walked away from God. It describes people who've walked away from God. It describes, serious sin, sexual sins, idolatry, all of these things. And it describes mankind without God. And I think it was Augustine who pointed this out years ago, that in a way, it's like if you take Romans 1, it becomes like a roadmap how to walk away from God. Yeah? Like you say, Graham, I don't want to walk away from God. I know, I get it. But here's my point. If you take this roadmap and flip it upside down, it actually reads like a roadmap of how to get nearer to God. And there's some great points here, but let me just read one verse. Or maybe two. Now, just one verse. Romans 1:21. Speaking of this people who've walked away from God, it says, although they knew God, they didn't glorify him as God, and neither were they thankful. And then it says, because of these things, they got themselves further and further away from God. So Paul's saying there were once a bunch of people on planet Earth, if you will, the children of Adam, who knew God. They knew there was a God, but they didn't glorify him. They didn't self-identify. Somebody says, how do you self-identify? A worshiper, a new creation, a child of God. But there are people who knew God and they didn't enter into the practice of glorifying God, and neither were they thankful. And it says because of those things, there was a drift in their life where they drifted away from God. Now, again, we don't want to live in Romans 1 territory, but I'm interested in how near can I get to God? How can we draw? He says, if you'll draw near to me, I'll draw near to you. Yeah, reciprocal abiding. So how do we draw nearer to God? Well, we know there's a God, but we glorify him. If we have a lifestyle, do you know what? It's a really simple thought today. If all day long, not just on Thanksgiving Day, but all day long, we'd be thanking God for who he is. We'd be glorifying him and thanking him. And especially today, I'm thinking of that thankfulness. It will bring us closer to God. Whenever you come into God saying, Lord, I thank you for this. Thank you for this. Sometimes I learned this years ago, and I'll finish with this, but instead of praying for something, thank God that you have it. So instead of, let's say me coming to the Lord and saying, Lord, would you heal me? Lord, would you heal me? Lord, would you heal me? What I've learned to do is I come to the Lord and I say, Lord, I thank you that you are my healer. Thank you that by your stripes I am healed. Thank you, the Lord of the Spirit of life in Jesus has set me free from the Lord of sin, sickness, poverty, disease, demons, fear, oppression, death. Thank you, your life is flowing through me. Thank you, no evil befalls me, no plague comes nigh my dwelling. Because number one, when you thank, you're not asking for something. You become like a dog chasing your tail. Rather, you acknowledge you have it. And you're giving God glory. And you're making the promise relational. You're coming and you're saying, Lord, I thank you. So I'm thankful for all God's done in my life. And I just want to say thank you to all of my friends and partners in my ministry. Everybody who prays, who gives, who supports, who opens, who attends meetings, who follows on social media, who sends those letters and emails. I'm so thankful for you guys, and I speak in blessing over you today, wherever you are at. So have a wonderful day, eat your turkey, and let's be thankful to God. Thanks for watching.